Hello, and I know you guys clicked into this video because you guys want to find out what is the best build for this boss itself. So before I begin talking, Lone Wolf was actually released in the PTR server a few months back, and I'll say we have to credit the CM players for discovering the current builds. So most of the builds that you will see running around YouTube will probably be from the CM server side because they are the one that figure out this build itself. So I have to salute to them, right? We have to give credit when due. So I think the current version of Lone Gaze in the global server has been downgraded. I think it has been scaled down, so it's a lot easier. I did a very first run on this account, which is free to play on global, and I did 1.2 million. So I believe I'm able to survive throughout the full duration. So I believe the boss have been scaled down, and I believe it's a lot easier for people to do more damage. So I'm gonna change out the recommended build a little bit and show what I did in my first run, right? What's the recommended build in the first run? So before I start, let's talk about where you can unlock this boss. So you need to clear all the way until Dark Forest 5, right? So once you clear Dark Forest 5, you'll see this big wolf over here. So you click onto it, right? You run to the place, you can interact with the boss. So when you look at this world boss, right, there's a lot of freebies that this world boss give you. So number one, there's a server reward. So if your server finishes the boss within 5 days, you're going to get a lot of gems, and then your equipment, which is good for early game, 120, very, very good. 10 invite letter, 60 soul stone, and a title wolf slayer. So if you do it within 6 days, you get less gems, so on and so forth. So your goal is to kill the boss as fast as possible in a world setting, so or server setting, right? So there's also the individual ranking reward. So if you're in the top 10, you will get 10 Twilight Essence, right? You will get the Pharaoh Ridge title frame, and then you will get this Wolf Slayer singular title. So yeah, this is for the top 20 players, and then so on and so forth. You guys can see the rewards yourself. And I'll say first, I'll make a disclaimer first. Obviously, this game mode will favor the spenders who have more units, who have stronger units, and they have more units to play around, so they can try and error. And right now, I think Lone Gaze has been improved in a way that you have more attempts daily. So in the previous run, when Lone Gaze was introduced, each player only had 2 attempts per day, and the boss died really, really quickly because they had a really low HP. So if you can't get into top 200, right, or the top personal ranking portion, I think it's completely fine as well. You can still enjoy the game by getting all these freebies as a server. So that's something that I want to point out. So you can see the ranking on the top right hand corner, the trophy side. And with that, let us move on to the tips portion for the boss. So if you take a look at Lone Gaze itself, this Wolf Warrior unit is a physical attacker, and the ultimate, right? If you double tap on it, you can see the description. So at the first 10, 40, and 70 seconds in the battle, the mist appears on the battlefield. Wolf King disappears briefly before reappearing to dispel the mist within 1 tile. So this allows him to summon the Wolf Pack to attack the enemies in the mist, and for each hit, he deals 30% damage and inflicts a stack of bleed for 10 seconds. So each bleed stack deals 3% damage per second to the target, up to 6 stacks, and the mist disappears in 20 seconds after appearing. The Wolf King has a 70% dodge chance when he is within the mist itself. So this ultimate is really, really powerful because the wolf that he summoned deals a lot of damage, and it can actually kill your units really, really easily. But there's actually a tech to deal with that, which I'll talk about later. And inside the mist itself, all your units are gonna deal lesser damage, and because he has higher dodge chance, right, so some of their attacks will actually miss. So that's what this ultimate do. So the second skill, right, this one dashes to the furthest target, dealing 250% damage, deals 30% extra damage to the target beyond 2 tiles, right? So what this means, if your unit is too far away from him when he uses this skill, he's gonna charge and then deal a lot more damage compared to like when you're using a melee unit. So that's why over here they recommend the melee DPS. So this is the melee DPS portion, and that's why they recommend it. It's because of this skill itself. So next one, he will summon 3 Spectral Wolf if the mist exists, which deals additional damage. So if he uses this skill when the mist is active itself at the 10, 40, and 70 second mark, right, he's gonna hit like a trap. So usually you want a tanky carry, or you want your team with a bunch of sustain, right? So I'll explain why the units are hot later on after we explain everything. So next one, we have the third skill. So deals 120% damage twice to the targets within a 1 tile arc, and then deal 150% damage to adjacent enemies and interrupt them. Okay, so this is a skill which if you have too many units clumping around the boss, then he's gonna hit pretty hard. So there's AoE, there's dodge, there's summoning wolf which deals insane single target damage, and there's a charged ability which deals more damage to the range unit. So that's something that you need to know for the boss. And the final skill allows the boss to gain 20 haste and 20% physical defense and magical defense upon defeating an enemy up to 5 stacks. So this is something which you don't want the boss to stack up, so you want to keep your team as healthy for as long as possible, because once he starts killing your unit, he's going to become tankier, so you do less damage, and he's going to get haste, which means that his whole skill cycle will be a lot faster, and eventually he will just wipe your whole team. So let's take a look at the recommended unit by the game itself. So we have Resilient Healer, right? All the healers with the shielding ability, with the healing ability, with the sustain ability, they're all recommended, because in this boss itself, you need the sustain, because you don't want your boss to kill any of your units, and at the same time your boss, right, is gonna hit super hard. So if you run a pure normal team, right, your rangers, your rogue characters, they're all gonna die really easily. So the best bet to survive through this is to rely on your support unit, Reina with the healing, Reina with the damage boost if you have him at Mythic Plus, right? You have all these healers like Heroin, Smokey offering a little bit of offensive prowess as well, really good. Then you have Coco, which is insanely good with the damage reduction for the whole team. And if you're running the Lightbringer faction, you want to use Lucius and Faye. Faye is also okay, but generally I'll say go for the Mauler side of things. If you're somebody who's new and free to play, right? I think the Mauler side is the best bet for you, because most people will have Smokey, most people will have Coca, because they are like really powerful early game units. And if you need more sustain, there's also Antandra as well, which provides a shield, so that's something to consider. So for the DPS side, they recommend all these units. Personally, I think Shakir is the best one, because Shakir not only offers damage, Shakir has a Lupin Aura which allows him to give attack buff to your whole team, so your whole team generally has like more damage. And this is the previous team that I was running against this boss, as you guys can see just now on the screen right now. So what the boss will do is the boss will run around and then the boss will charge to your team. So Shakir being a unit that chases after the boss, he will actually run towards your team and then providing the Lupin Aura when he's in his wolf form. So that's why I will say Shakir is the better one. And obviously you want as much factional bonus as possible if you want to build your team, but there's actually a secret tech unit that you can use if you have him built up, which is really good for this boss itself. So without further ado, let's jump into the boss. I'm going to talk about the team building rationale, what I recommend. So I just tried it with this team, right? The artifact of choice is the Iron War spell, because you give the most powerful buff to the frontmost ally, which is Smokey. So the thing about Smokey is if you have him at Mythic Plus, you have his EX weapon unlocked. This unit is actually the key damage dealer for this boss, because he's Fart Cloud, right? I always call it the Fart Cloud, but if you have the EX weapon, right, you go into this skill, right? You have this EX weapon skill unlocked. The special aroma gains the third upgrading effect, extending the effect range and enhancing the skill. And obviously the enemies in the skill range loses 12% of their max HP per second, and the max amount of lost HP, right, is no more than 200% of Smokey and Murky's attack. So this unit over here is actually the key DPS in this team setup. Like, as much as you guys will think that I'm joking, it's not. And it is the fact. Like, the CM player has tested it and proven it, so that's something which I find really funny. But yeah, this is the main carry of the team if you have him built up to Mythic Plus. Then we have Heroin, obviously. If you have Heroin at a higher tier, Heroin has damage reduction, really good at keeping your team alive. And at the same time, Heroin's heal for the whole team, no matter where they are, is really helpful as well. So Heroin is a really good unit here. Then we have Coca, like I mentioned, really good ultimate, really good buff for your team, and also a bit of damage and a little bit of heal to keep your team sustained going. So we have Shakir as the carry in the previous run. I tried the run and I was able to survive the full 90 second. So I was thinking maybe the boss can maybe switching out to a more like a damage based support could be the way to go, because who knows, maybe you know, your Odai can do more damage, because just now I was able to survive full 90 seconds. So I feel that I can do more damage. The goal of this game mode is just to do as much damage to the boss as possible. So you don't do, as long as your unit can survive, you want to do that. But I won't keep Odai's level too high, because I believe the more damage you do to the boss, the more attack the boss gets. So you kind of want to balance between healing and attacking the boss, dealing damage at the same time. So that's something for you to take note. So the secret tag, right, which I mentioned, is actually Damien. So this unit is the secret tag, because Damien's card can be resummoned. So you can use Damien's card as the way to block the wolf's attack, which you guys will see later. And he will resummon the card again once his energy is full. And on top of that, Damien provides quite a bit of heal right from the second skill. Damien also provides a little bit of damage over here, and obviously his ultimate ape allows him to recycle his skill. If you have the chariot on board, it will be a bomb where he sent in. If you don't have a chariot on board, he will summon the chariot, and then the chariot will start healing your team. So very versatile unit. If you have him at the higher tier, this unit offers insane haste buff for your team, which further boosts your damage. So with that, I'm going to try out this build first, because I tried out the Shakir build, and I'm going to put Odai here probably, right? And then I'm going to put the positioning as such, because I believe the wolf will always come from the back. So I'm using Damien as the protector for our dear Odai. Okay, so depending on what the outcome will be, the third attempt, I'll modify my team a bit to show you guys how I tackle this boss. And with that, let us start this battle run. Let's go. Okay, so I will do it at one time so you guys can see everything. So you guys can see this is the AoE attack. But because you have so many heals in your team, you're not so afraid about the AoE heal. And then this is the ultimate, the Mist, as you guys can see. So Smokey will start healing the whole team. If you have the EX weapon, this heal will deal damage as well. So he will be one of the main damage dealer. So you guys can see he will start summoning the wolf. But I feel that the wolf is not dealing as much damage now, because I think the boss threshold is still really low. But you guys can see that the chariot can actually tank up the boss. So this is one of the secret tag I mentioned. If your team can actually survive, you might want to sort of play around, try out different builds to boost your damage more. But if you're able to do a lot of damage, this chariot as a tank secret tag, right, is something which I think is really crazy, because the chariot just keeps coming back, right? If you're able to last the full 90 seconds, the chariot just keeps coming back. So I believe my theory is right. The boss this time around actually got nerfed. So I'm already doing more damage than my previous run. And you guys can see, right? All the wolves are attacking my backline in the Mist. And as long as you're keeping the team alive, the boss will not get a buff, the boss will not kill your team, and the boss will not become overly tanky. So you can obviously modify the units you use based on your own team build, right? If your units are tankier, if you have better quality units from other factions, do just throw them in. But the general idea is you kind of want to balance sustain and attack for this boss itself, because the boss will start hitting harder. As you guys can see, the boss is already starting to hit really hard. So now we understand the boss kit, right? I'm just gonna go at 2 times so we can see whether or not the boss can actually kill my team. So my team is able to survive the full duration. Okay, really good. I might want to switch out Heroin, because I feel I might be able to do more damage with Shakir, and I feel that Heroin is not that much needed. So I think you guys can try an error for this run itself. So this was the previous best build for this boss. Obviously, I think along the way, I think as the boss gets changed out along the way, probably there's a new better build. But this was the previous best build for the CN server side that they developed. So now the third run, right, experimentation time, I'm gonna put in Heroin. So just now my team actually didn't die, so I survived through the full 90 seconds. So I believe even without Heroin, I might still be able to survive. So I'm gonna, oh wait, I have EXP. Oh, I didn't actually level up my unit. Okay, so I'm gonna put my Odai into the 110 slot. And since we have Koka in our team and we have Damien. Okay, the reason why I choose Damien over Heroin at this point is because since my units are clumping up together, I don't need Heroin's universal heal. And like I mentioned earlier, Damien's cut is a tank, is also a damage, and Damien cut is a secret tag. So that's that. So with that, let us try this build. So I'm gonna run Shakir in the place of Heroin, because just now we managed to survive. So I believe we should still be able to survive with the 2 Molar support and Damien's heal support and the Iron Wall artifact in place. So With that, let us go through our third run for today. Let's start. Okay, this time around, I think we are doing damage a lot faster. Okay, so I believe, yeah, you guys can see, the more damage you do, the wolf starts to do more damage. So the faster your damage pacing, right, the faster the damage increase the boss will be. So you kind of want to find a balance between that. But I think we can still survive the full 90-second duration for this one and do more damage because we took out Heroin, right? So Heroin is more defensive by nature, and since we are surviving without with Heroin just now, we will try another run without Heroin and we give more offense in the form of Shakir for this one. So I believe we are doing good and we're definitely gonna hit the peak damage. We're gonna improve our score from here. So that's that. Okay, really good. Okay, Koka gets the ultimate off. Okay, yeah, we're doing more damage than our previous one. So I guess that's that. Oh wow, you guys can see the boss is already hitting super duper hard against our Smokey. Okay, so that's something which okay, better damage from our previous one. Okay, so that's pretty much it for this free-to-play guide, or rather beginner guide for this boss if you are somebody who's limited by the units. Okay, this is something which I forget in the previous recording, and that is recommending a build for the spenders or whales who have the units and investments for various powerful units. So personally, after looking at the boss for this time around, I feel that the damage output of the boss has been scaled down. But because I used up all my 3 attempts in the previous part, as you guys can see, I can only do it on Necro Drake. So if you're somebody who spends, you have a lot of units, you have very powerful single target carry, how should you build the team, or what would I recommend? So number one, obviously Smokey and Murky, right? Offensive healer with a ton of heal and a ton of damage from the EX weapon if you have his EX weapon unlocked. Then we have Coco, right? Coco, very good Imba support together with Smokey. And then we have one of the overall most powerful support in the game, Rainier. But for Rainier's case, you would probably need the EX weapon for boosted damage. If not, if you're running Rainier at a low rank like myself in this team itself, then you're only benefiting from the second skill, which is a skill which heals the unit that gets swapped. So in this case, let's say if you swap your carry, right, the carry of choice I'll say is Odal for me, but for yourself there's a lot of options. If you take a look at the boss itself, right, so if you take a look at the boss, we go to the boss, they actually recommend quite a few units over here. So I think Vala is in the banner unit. So if you have Vala at a high rank, I think whales who spend a lot on the banner can actually use Vala as well, because even with Vala, wait, let me shift up my portrait over here so you guys can see what I'm talking about in terms of the factional bonuses. So for the boss, right, for not Necro Drake by the way, for Lone Wolf, I'm just going to use this tile as a demonstration. I'm going to put like this, and then I'm going to put a Shakir here, and then a Reina so that we activate the buff. We can also take out Shakir and then we send one of our carry. So for me, it's this. For most people, it could be Sisia. And then for the whales who have Vala maxed out at Mythic or Mythic Plus or Supreme, can use Vala, because Vala is more the recommended unit. So Vala's strength lies in the fact that Vala can go melee, which does a lot of damage. So that's something which I would recommend, which is something which I think will probably be the best build. So I'm gonna put Chirpy as the Vala replacement, because I don't have Vala on this account. I don't have Vala on this account. So we're gonna put, okay, I'm just gonna put Odai there. So if you are using Vala, you'll be getting 4-1 buff, which is 19% with Rainer. So Rainer's strength lies in the Celestial Hippogene, making the linking easier, as well as the heal if you have him at the lower tier. And if you have the Mythic weapon, the Mythic Plus EX weapon, then there will be a damage boost. And if you have it at EX 10, then that will be a damage reduction on the unit you sent in. So that unit that you send in, chances are it won't die. And obviously with this team setup, Smokey and Murky with the EX weapon can do damage, can heal, can provide offensive buff, and then Coco for the defensive side, Rainer for the defensive side, and then Shakir for a mix of offense as well as an aura when he comes close, when the wolf comes on your team itself. So is this the best comp? I'm not very sure, but this is something which I feel is feasible based on the current version of the game, right? Current version of the Lone Wolf. So I believe you guys can try and error based on your own unit investment to see whether or not you can actually get more damage out of this boss itself. So hopefully you hit your max damage, and hopefully you get the best rewards that you can with whatever you have, and enjoy this game mode. Thank you very much for tuning in. Do remember to like and subscribe to see more videos from this channel, and I'll see you guys again in my next video. Bye guys.